Alright, hello there fellas, and let me welcome you to one of the tutorials that I'm planning on making in the future. This time, I will be making, let's say, a world template for you guys in the program WorldPainter, for which I have actually made a tutorial. This one, I will be calling the CogWheel Island. Here, you can see me, in fact, starting out the project. It's definitely what it's supposed to be. It's an island. It's me just basically getting the general shape in place, plus just like, I guess, thinking about what I want to add onto the island along the way. Here, you can see me just making the area less steep, making a little bit of variation in the terrain, adding specific details like rock formations around the main plateau of the island for it to make this whole project a little bit more interesting. Just as easy as that, honestly. Here I'm just tweaking a bit of the terrain and the height of the mountains because I wanted it to be a little bit bigger than it was before, adding more of these spikes that will just tower over the water. You can see I've actually deleted the water just so I have a bit more, or like let's say a little bit of a better view for the whole map that I'm creating. By the way, this map is about like, I think it's 1100 or like 1050 times 1050 blocks, which I think at the end you will see is more than enough. I should and could have probably gone with a little bit of a, let's say, lower number than just 1,000. Here, as you can see, I'm slowly but surely going around manually creating the seafloor, right? I didn't want it to be flat, even though you're probably not gonna see it, but for you guys, if you want to build something underwater, as in this template, and make a base, I am in fact creating the seafloor variation here, as you can see, so it would look a little bit more natural. So the process is actually really simple, going around with one of those like special brushes from Evman, for which I have given a link in my tutorial video for like the basics for the WorldPainter tool, and it actually does most of the hard work for you, because as you can see, the variation in the terrain is provided just by the brush itself, right? It's actually really simple. Now, as you can see, I'm smoothing on the terrain because even though I wanted that kind of variation in terrain, it looked very rough, and here I am thinking it's not really my cup of tea, right? I wanted to go for a bit of a smoother terrain every time I do something with my builds, templates, projects, landscaping, and such and so forth. I always want to go with like that smooth variant because I feel like it's user-friendly, more user-friendly than it is with the rough terrain. Here you can see me just expanding the plateau over there, plus adding like more interesting pieces to the cliffs, just going back and forth. I tried envisioning how it's gonna look at the end, just adding the water, and then imagining like what's missing. So in the end, I had a couple of islands and these like towering rock formations from over there, which I hope kind of does look natural, because I guess the world generation when it comes to mountains is definitely very similar to this, right? So you get all these like mountain ranges that go above the surface in a similar manner. Here I've added an island for those of you who would want to build like a shack there. I don't know, basically whatever your hearts would desire. But I will say this: I wanted to give you the freedom that you guys have to get all of this going for you. I mean, what I mean by that is actually really simple. It's that this is supposed to be, as I said, as stated before, a template, right? So it's and I'll also be describing that in the next part of the video. It's a blank canvas for you. So if you want to add something, destroy something, it's definitely up to you. I will be adding the link in the description for the video for like a MediaFire file to download for you guys. It's free. It's just basically me trying to help you guys with your creative endeavors. Let's say that. Right, so here again I'm getting rid of the water because I've added more of the terrain, going around with again one of those Evman brushes to actually get a bit more of the differentiation in the terrain, and for it to look a little bit more natural, and trying to get the basic shape in place. And this is nearing its completion because this is definitely almost the end of the product. What we're missing right now after like these couple of little tweaks is then the textures and the more interesting stuff, I will say. And that requires a bit more tedious work for me as the creator, because it's simply very much so about like these minor little tweaks. Here, that's what I'm talking about, right? I'm trying to create a custom terrain from many different materials, trying to set up all the programs there are, or like the different block types, different percentages, and how I kind of want the terrain to generate. If you can see that there are a couple of options: the noise, the blobs, and repeating layers, such and so forth. So it actually gives you a preview in the WorldPainter, so that's pretty nice. And I, at this point, tried to create more than just one, because I wanted to get the texture for not only the, let's say, cliffs, but also for the ocean floor. I also want to go for a beach. I also did, let's say, like a cover layer for the tops of the mountains, and one that's like in between the cliffs and the cover layer, so that there's actually a little bit more to it than it might feel like, or you might feel like, right? And here I'm just again toying with the idea how I want it to look like. Some of these terrains, to be honest, I experiment with. It's always good to experiment in my mind, because you can find something that you have not really done before, and it could help you for your future projects, right? So I personally, like previously, didn't really go for these like roughness textures in the repeating layers section, and I think it looks really good because the end product is again a repeating layer, but the roughness is in fact so high that it doesn't really look like a layer at all. It looks more like a blob, but for, I guess, vertical scale. Here again, I am creating the layer for the mossy, grassy terrain parts, and again tweaking the percentages, such and so forth. I think here I'm getting a little bit of an overlay again, just as overall, I guess, idea of what I want to do. And this is one of the most crucial and honestly one of the better or the best tools in the WorldPainter, and that's the global operations. So if you prepare everything beforehand, and you have all the terrains, the biomes, and such and so forth, you can basically program this inside the global operations setting, and then it will give you the idea of it will just basically automatically give you the idea where the terrain is gonna be, and it looks very, very natural. Here, by the way, this is a tip for you. I've previously left the terrains with their like default icons, but to me, since the canvas was already made out of stone and it was all gray, the default textures for the new terrains that we created, custom ones, have not been really visible to me. So I've basically given those newly made textures some vibrant colors so that I can actually see it better, or let's say more clearly, how it will look like. Here you can see me again just going back and forth, tweaking all the different angles, because sometimes I'm honestly having trouble figuring out what kind of an angle do I want to have these like specific terrains done at, right? I wanted to cover it above like 45 degrees, and then I realized that I have another terrain that it's supposed to be above that, and then if I just go and do it, let's say not only above 45 but above like 55 or 60, it always gives you a bit more options, and it looks somehow different every single time, logically speaking. But it's a little bit of fiddling. Here I'm adding the trains. As you can see, there are a couple mistakes here. I've added the beaches, which are black, and there is underneath the water the purplish, magenta-ish pink layer that's not supposed to be there. So this will be in fact something that I am gonna be repairing right now, right? As you can see just about now. So I defined the brush where I want to use it. It's underneath a specific level, and now comes actually the more manual part again. Now that we've created this sort of a look that we wanted, or the textures that we wanted on the whole terrain, the global operation, I always just go and do these things manually, so that there is actually a transition from one of the terrains to another, as you can see with the beaches, even though the textures are pretty similar. I mean, it's like a gravelly or rocky andesite mix, and the ocean floor, which is symbolized by the yellow, is something very similar to that, but in like different percentages. Even though it's just very the difference is very minor. For me personally, I really like to do this so that it looks really natural. Here I'm making the final decisions, the final tweaks, and we will be in fact ready for exporting. And I guess let me just see you in the world while we explore it in Minecraft itself. So I'm flying through the area, and I feel like there are a couple things that need changing still. Again, it's not too shabby for a first render. However, there are a couple of like little subtle mistakes that need changing. First of all, I saw this texture. I need to tweak this texture. Also, I need to smooth out the terrain more, because at like not in this place specifically, but in other places it's still a little bit too rough for my taste. And then I need to go out and figure out those cover layers and such. At some places, like, I don't understand why this is here, but that was just like probably an error of Minecraft generation in itself, so I'm not gonna worry about that. I still think my computer is actually really struggling whenever I go and render projects like these for the first time and it needs to load the terrain. So yeah, I think for a first step, it's not bad, right? But I'll just jump back into the WorldPainter, and we shall tweak it and maybe do something about the height here, because I think it's honestly really, really steep. So I kind of want to like go ahead and make this like pathway over here a little bit more accessible. However, I don't really know if that's gonna work out at all, because it's basically just too steep, this cliff, right? And I don't like cliffs being this steep, because the only thing that you can do is either ladders if you want to go from down from the beach down there up to the top, or various amounts of stair blocks, and I don't really like going at like through stair blocks. It just doesn't really work for me. All right, so let's just get back to WorldPainter and see what we can tweak over there. So basically I start with as I said, deleting the textures that I didn't really want, the cobblestone, the stone from the custom terrain. Then I just go around smoothing out the terrain, the parts where I said were, for my taste, a bit too rough. Now again, trying to figure out what kind of area. This was one of those like little beaches that I wasn't really happy with. So I did tweak it. I did smooth out the terrain over there as well, so that it looked actually a bit better for my taste. Now again, with like the predefined brush that I tried to specify, I do make a couple of mistakes here, so please bear with me from the now I'm just like seeing how many mistakes I've made in the whole process. I'm still not by any means a pro or like a professional or anything of this program. I'm just a casual user. But here there are the final touches here for this project. I am adding the different biomes for the specific terrains, which works in my eyes probably like the best out of all I've tried. Also tried like spray painting them on like specific areas. You can also do that, but in my eyes, whenever you have a lot of work with the textures and defining all those things, then you can probably just go and make use of it as well for the biomes. Here, this is the cover layer that I'm defining as well. It's basically the vegetation. It's the greenery, the plants, the flowers, the bushes that I kind of want to be generated automatically on this on that like mossy cover level. So here you can see that I'm tweaking very much so everything, like the percentages, the difference differences in height, and such and so forth. This program, this tool actually gives you a preview of what it's gonna look like on certain percentages. I set it to 25% and sort of like vaguely added it here and there. Now the other layer is the vegetation underwater, and I find it's actually the easiest if you don't like want to add like something specific that normally doesn't belong underwater, just to go into the edit layer settings and create like a custom layer that is below water, and just adding the water life, the water plants down there. Again, I filtered the terrain to only apply on a specific level or on a specific biome. In this case, you can see it was on the ocean floor. Now, as I said, that was for the predefined underwater life, but I wanted to get a bit more variation. I wanted to give like more different blocks in there, so I've added the mangrove roots and the leaves of several like different combinations, and then once again manually went with the low intensity spray paint tool and done that. And now I think we're ready to export it again and go back. All right. Now this looks marginally better in my opinion. For version 2 of the project, I think this is actually very close to what I had envisioned. I mean, look at the plateau up here. With just that ground layer over there, and with like a couple of these slabs and trees and whatnot, it looks amazing. I think this is gonna be the end product here for the plateau, for all the ground cover layers, especially for the one up here. Now, let me just go to this slideshow that is generation of underwater terrain, and let's see how this looks. I really like the mangrove roots that I've added. It basically looks like some sort of a driftwood, which is great. The vegetation underwater is, I guess, fine as well. I mean, I have no issue with it whatsoever. I hope you guys can see it clearly. And yeah, the vegetation is everywhere, on the hills, underwater, everywhere. So now comes the question, is this enough to be the final product? In my eyes, it definitely could be, right? It kind of depends on whoever decides what to do in the end. And I think I'm just gonna say, right, this is gonna be the map that I'm gonna export, and I will in fact upload for you guys if you ever want to make some sort of like a project of yours and are if or let me rephrase that. Let me put it this way. If you don't know what to do and you only want like a clean canvas for your builds, this is exactly what you need, right? I personally got stuck many countless of times between a rock and a hard place. Let's say when I wanted to build something really cool, but I knew that I'm gonna have to, like, I guess, go and make the terrain first, do the landscaping. I didn't really want to do that. I really wanted to go and just make a build. Something epic, like a castle or a village or something organic or whatever. But I always got stuck on that, and it really, really did demotivate me, right? And this is basically me giving you this, like, let's say, a free canvas to work with. I think for the purposes of that, there are many, and I cannot really stress that enough. There are many places, many like different areas. Like for instance, this island, this beach, this huge beach, underwater areas over there. There could be also the plateau over here. You can do some sort of like a magical thing over on top of the mountains over there, like a dragon or like a tower, or I don't know, mines, or some sort of a even architecturally modernistic building over here, right? Or you could just maybe potentially make a whole settlement over here. My personal idea is that this island, as the name states, it's I've called it CogWheel Island. I think would be best suited for like a steampunk village settlement, etc. Right? So if you just figure out a way of like elevators, cranes, I don't know, steam powered, coal powered machinery, and like a settlement based on that, I think this would actually look great. It would look perfect. Also, I guess I could have added the trees as well, or like custom objects, and added them on top of the like plateaus here or on the side of the mountains and such. But honestly, I don't think it's really necessary. I kind of wanted to give you guys the creative freedom. If you want to make, like, let's say a huge tree over here that just overlooks this area, then feel free to do that. Or if you just want to make a huge tower with like crenellations around and like walls and, you know, around this whole area with gardens such as so forth, I can imagine that as well. So yeah, this has been me. This is the first of probably more to come, because I really do enjoy the landscaping. I also do enjoy the building sometimes, but this is more about me just giving you what you could potentially utilize yourselves. Right, so I'll see you next time. See you guys. Bye.